morning. It's Monday, July 26th. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Kim Dami, filling in for Kim Mo-gyun. Let's begin with the headlines. With the new COVID-19 infections popping up nationwide, South Korea's non-capital areas will also face the second tightest virus curves from Tuesday. On a brighter note, vaccinations begin for people in their 50s on Monday. Team Korea picked up 2 gold and 3 bronze medals at the Tokyo Olympics over the weekend. That includes yet another gold victory for the women's archery team, taking the prize for the 9th consecutive Olympics. Just 10 days after Western Europe was hit by the heaviest rainfall it's seen this century, Belgium endured yet another round of flooding over the weekend. Here in South Korea, the nation confirmed another daily count of COVID-19 cases above the 1,000 mark on Monday, seeing a slight drop due to fewer tests conducted over the weekend. Health authorities are maintaining the highest distancing level for the Greater Seoul area and raised measures by 1 notch for areas outside the capital. For more, we have our Choi Won-jong on the line. Won-jong, fill us in.
Tommy, South Korea reported 1,318 new COVID-19 cases on Monday. Like you said, due to fewer tests over the weekend, the number of cases has decreased from the number reported the previous day. Of the new cases, all but 54 were locally transmitted, raising the total caseload to over 190,000. The Greater Seoul region still makes up the highest number of infections among the Monday's caseload, accounting for nearly 60%. With the new wave of infection continuing surge, health authorities have extended the highest level of social distancing in the Greater Seoul area for another 2 weeks until August 8th. Following the raise in the capital region, a few non-capital areas such as Daejeon and Yangyang have been raised to level 4 as well. However, as many people travel during the summer break, health authorities in non-capital areas have also raised social distancing measures by 1 level to prevent further spread. The stricter level will kick off tomorrow, Tuesday, and stay in place until August 8th. Level 3 restrictions allow private gatherings of up to 4 people, while restaurants, cafes, and singing rooms have to close by 10 p.m.
Now, Won-jong, can you tell us about vaccinations for people in their 50s that will kick off today?
That's right. More than 3 million people between 55 and 59 will receive their first shot of the COVID-19 vaccine today on July 26, with the mRNA vaccine such as Moderna or Pfizer. Despite delays in the online vaccine booking system due to overwhelming demand, 86% of those eligible said yes to getting vaccinated in the coming weeks at their designated medical centers. Starting in the mid-August, more than 3.1 million people aged 50 to 54 will get their chance to get their first shot. And that's all I have for this hour. I'll be back with more in the later newscast. Back to you.
Thank you, Won-jong, for the update. Now, President Moon Jae-in is expected to press for the swift deployment of the extra budget to help those hardest hit by tougher antivirus restrictions when he meets with his top aides in the coming hours. The budget bill, clocking in roughly $30 billion, passed the National Assembly on Saturday. Non-capital areas will be subject to level 3 distancing rules from Tuesday, while Seoul and its surrounding regions will remain under level 4 restrictions for another 2 weeks. President Moon will also likely ask for public cooperation in regards to the stricter distancing rules and call for a thorough preparation so vaccinations can start for people in their 40s and below from August. On Sunday, he chaired an interagency meeting on COVID-19 and asked the people to endure the measures a touch longer to overcome the crisis as swiftly as possible. With the Delta variant spreading across the world, the U.S. has been seeing a surge in daily infections, especially in states with low vaccination rates. Against this backdrop, the country's top infectious disease expert is calling for the possible need for a booster shot for those with weak immune systems. Our Kim Yo-sun has more.
New COVID-19 cases continue to surge in parts of the U.S. where vaccination rates are low as the highly infectious Delta variant spreads rapidly across the country and the world. The U.S. reported over 118,000 new cases last Friday, according to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University. This is the first time in around 5 months that America's daily COVID-19 tally has surpassed the 100,000 mark and is a significant uptick from about 10,000 daily infections recorded in late June. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 30 states have yet to fully vaccinate at least half of their residents. And as of last Friday, the daily average of people becoming fully vaccinated was the lowest it's been since the end of January. As the country grapples with the rampant spread, America's top infectious disease official Anthony Fauci said some Americans who are immune compromised may need COVID-19 booster shots going forward. Speaking on CNN on Sunday, Fauci further explained that health officials are reviewing data to determine when and if such boosters might be needed. Fauci added U.S. health officials are pondering whether to revise mask guidance for vaccinated Americans, explaining that it's under active consideration. Kim Ha-sun, Arirang News.
It's now time for the latest updates on the Tokyo Olympics. We've now entered day 4 of the global event, and this past weekend was particularly thrilling and fruitful for Team Korea, snatching 2 gold and 3 bronze medals. For details, let's turn to our Kim Do-yeon at the News Center. So, Do-yeon, history written for the South Korean archers yet again.
Dami, you are right on target. It was an action-packed weekend, especially as South Korea's archery team kept its reputation by adding another gold to the collection. On Sunday, the women's team won its 9th consecutive gold medal. That's every possible gold since the event was added in 1988. Ansan, Chang Min-hee, and Kang Chae-young cruised through the finals against Russian Olympics Committee. An had actually won a gold the day before when she paired with Kim Jae-deok to grab South Korea's first gold of the Olympics in the mixed team event. This was her first Olympics, and as a winner in the newly added event, she stamps her name in the Olympics history books. She still has the singles event left and could come away with 3 golds in total.
Now, on the other hand, there were some South Korean athletes that fell short of the gold medal. So tell us about the other medalists.
Right, so far there have been 3 bronze medals. In fencing, the veteran Kim Jong-hwan picked up bronze in the men's individual saber. During his match, he sprained his ankle and even got hit by the saber in the back of his head where there is no protection. But he stood back up and finished to claim his 3rd Olympics medal. Taekwondo champion Chang Jun also won bronze in the men's 58 kilograms class, the first medal in this Olympics for the sport's country of origin, while An Ba-ul won a bronze in the men's 66 kilogram judo. In response to the news, President Moon Jae-in on Sunday sent his congratulations to all the Olympic medalists, saying they brought great joy to the South Korean people. The South Korean men's Olympic football team jumped to the top of Group B on Sunday after thrashing Romania 4-0. Midfielder Lee Kang-in scored twice, helping South Korea their first 3 points in Tokyo. Despite losing to New Zealand in their first match, South Korea has 3 points like the 3 other teams, but with a goal difference of +3, they're top of Group B. It means South Korea only needs a draw against Honduras on Wednesday to advance. South Korean swimmer Hwang Sun-woo broke an 11-year-old national record in the men's 200-meter freestyle on Sunday, winning his heat to reach the semis. The 17-year-old sensation finished first with 1 minute 44.62 seconds, beating the previous record by 3-time Olympic medalist Park Tae-hwan at the 2010 Asian Games by 0.18 seconds. The semifinals happened Monday, with best 8 moving on to Tuesday's final. Elsewhere, for the first time since 2004, the U.S. men's basketball team have lost in the Olympics, falling 83-76 to France. Sunday's defeat ended a 25-game winning streak and puts the country's quest for a 4th straight gold medal in question. The biggest NBA stars, including LeBron James and Steph Curry, decided not to go to Tokyo. Next up are Iran and Czech Republic, and 2 wins will put the U.S. into the quarters. The Olympics gymnast legend Oksana Chusovitina has said goodbye with 8 Olympics under her belt. The 46-year-old veteran unfortunately couldn't qualify for the vault final, ending this Olympics a bit early. But looking at her whole career, it's nothing short. She represented the Soviet Union at her first World Championships in 1991 and the unified team at the Barcelona Olympics in 1992. She also competed for Germany as a way to thank the country for the medical treatment of her son. She now competes for Uzbekistan. And finally, let's take a look at where countries stand in the medal rankings as well as some exciting events to watch out for. I'll be back with more in a later newscast.
Belgium experienced another bout of torrential rain over the weekend, the second blast of heavy rain coming just over a week after Western Europe was devastated by similarly powerful rainstorms. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Just 10 days after Western Europe was slammed by the heaviest rainfall it has seen this century, Belgium endured yet another round of flooding Saturday as the country was slammed by heavy rains and thunderstorms. The floods mostly impacted the southern region of Wallonia, with the town of Dinant seeing considerable damage, with cars swept away by flash floods. Luckily, despite the fresh wave of torrential rain, no fatalities have been reported so far. The latest round of flooding comes after earlier storms this month left at least 36 people dead in the country. Belgium held a national day of mourning last Tuesday to remember the people who died. The earlier round of torrential rain also left a trail of destruction in Germany, with at least 180 people killed and almost 150 others still missing. The cost of recovery is expected to run into the billions of euros. In China, Typhoon Infa slammed the eastern region of the country with high winds and heavy rain on Sunday, while other parts of China still recover from recent historic flooding. The latest rainfall in China comes after torrential downpours last week dumped a year's worth of rain in just 3 days on the central province of Henan, killing at least 58. China's meteorological authorities say that after making landfall, Infa will weaken, but could continue to impact a wide area of eastern China for days, potentially dropping heavy rainfall on areas still recovering from last week's flooding. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman is set to meet China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Tianjin in the coming hours. U.S. officials say Sherman's 2-day visit is aimed at helping the superpowers navigate their troubled relationship. Sherman said last week that she also expects to discuss North Korea-related issues. This will be the second high-level meeting between the two sides since President Biden took office in January. Ahead of its debut on South Korea's benchmark Kospi next Friday, investors are likely to scramble for shares of the internet-only Kakaobank. Retail investors are able to bid for shares during the subscription period, which opens on Monday for 2 days. The bank, which has no brick-and-mortar branches, has priced some 65.5 million new shares at around $34 each. That is at the high end of its proposed price range for its initial public offering. The competition is expected to be fierce as firms submitted orders last week at a ratio of 1,733 for each stock made available, one of the highest ratios ever. It's time to look at the major economic news to come this week here and abroad. The International Monetary Fund will release a global growth forecast, and Korea will announce its population data. Our Seong Young tells us more.
The IMF is set to release an update on the world economy outlook on Tuesday. But IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva made an early statement regarding the evaluation last Wednesday, saying that the international body expects a 6% growth for the world economy this year, the same forecast it made in April. She also mentioned that the growth is expected to be uneven, with some countries growing faster and others more slowly, mainly due to differences in the speed and effectiveness of vaccinations and the availability of fiscal stimulus. When the IMF released its projection in April, it raised its forecast rate by 0.5 percentage points from January. The U.S. fiscal stimulus and vaccine distribution were some of the significant factors that led to revising up its previous forecast. As for South Korea, the international body estimated growth of 3.6%, up from the previous 3.1%. On Wednesday, Statistics Korea will release its population data for May. The number of births dropped by more than 2% and deaths increased by over 1.5% in April, compared to the same month in the previous year. Long-term demographic trends from Statistics Korea show that the country will see its population decline from 2029, which is earlier than the previous projection of 2032. Since population size is closely related to national power, Korea's population trend is drawing much attention. On Thursday, the U.S. Commerce Department is scheduled to publish its first estimate for the second quarter's GDP. The U.S. economy increased at an annual rate of 6.4% in the first quarter this year, an acceleration from its 4.3% of the fourth quarter last year. The strength was mainly led by consumer spending as consumers benefited from government stimulus payments. In fact, disposable personal income soared by 23.3% and consumption expenditure increased by 5% in March compared to the previous month. However, a stimulus effect will eventually stop as the battle against COVID-19 continues, observers are watching to see how the U.S. economy will react. 서은경, Arirang News.
Australian Korean golfer Lee Min-ji pulled off a dramatic comeback victory at the Amundi Avion Championship in France on Sunday, scooping her first LPGA major title. Lee overturned a 7-stroke deficit over the final round to force a playoff against South Korean Lee Jung-eun, and with both golfers tied at 18 under par, a birdie on the par 5 18th in the playoff sealed the Aussies' dramatic victory. South Korean COVID-19 patients who are living overseas are being flown back home to get better quality treatment. Demand is increasing, especially in Southeast Asia, where the medical systems are on the verge of breaking down. Our Choi Min-jang reports.
Air ambulances are a lifeline for South Korean nationals living overseas, as countries in Southeast Asia witness surging numbers of COVID-19 infections. With medical facilities in those countries overwhelmed, Korean patients in critical condition are left with no other choice but to fly home as quickly as possible.
The demand for these flights has surged among COVID-19 patients. More patients and families are choosing to get transferred using air ambulances, despite their high cost, due to the challenges faced by some countries.
Air ambulances operate much like intensive care units. During the flight, patients are accompanied by skilled medics who are capable of handling medical emergencies. To prevent the virus from spreading, patients are transferred in portable isolation units, and oxygen tanks are provided for the critically ill. Once they arrive at Incheon International Airport, they are immediately taken to hospitals. Companies like Flying Doctors Korea as well as Assist Card Korea have been providing Korean patients with medical evacuation flights using the worldwide air ambulance network. According to Flying Doctors Korea, around 100 South Korean COVID-19 patients have been transferred since the outbreak of the pandemic. More than half of them came from Indonesia.
Right now, we are transferring the most patients from Southeast Asia, mostly from Indonesia, Vietnam, and Myanmar. From mid-June, patients were transferred almost every day, and on some days, air ambulances even operated twice a day.
The rising demand for air ambulances comes as these Southeast Asian countries are struggling to contain spiking numbers of infections. According to the World Health Organization, Indonesia reported the world's highest coronavirus tally last week at over 350,000 cases. Lately, Myanmar has been seeing around 6,000 cases a day with a record high number of deaths. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
Good morning. More red-hot heat across much of South Korea once again today. The capital and its surrounding regions forecast to hit highs nearing 36 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Chuncheon will be hotter, going up to sweltering 37 degrees. Meanwhile, Typhoon Infa that made landfall near Shanghai is causing choppy waters in the south and west seas, as well as around Jeju, which is seeing rain. So do expect to see 5 to 50 millimeters of rainfall if you're there for most of the day. Western Gangwon-do province could see some passing showers during the day as well. Steamy heat will continue in the capital region with no relief on the way for the time being. Meanwhile, across the East Sea, Japan prepares for tropical storm Nepartak, which is forecast to possibly make landfall on Tuesday in eastern Japan. That could be including Tokyo, where the Olympics are underway. Due to the indirect effect of that, Korea's coast and Jeju will experience high waves for the next few days. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching.